Hey everyone! Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more exciting content. A decorated Army general jammed his pistol against the temple of a 28-year-old Navy SEAL medic and screamed, "Die now." In the next 3 seconds, one woman rewrote the rules of engagement forever, and the entire military would never be the same. If you love your mom and dad the way this hero loved every wounded brother on that battlefield, smash that subscribe button right now and show her some love. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, late summer 2023. The largest joint medical trauma exercise in a decade was in full swing, smoke pots rolling, simulated gunfire cracking, role-players screaming in 4 languages. The scenario was brutal but controlled. A forward operating base had been overrun, casualties everywhere, and a rogue U.S. Army 2-star general, played by real Major General Richard "Bulldog" Harlan, had supposedly snapped under pressure and was now holding the triage tent hostage, threatening to execute wounded troops unless the exercise was called off and he was given a helicopter out. Every participant knew it was a drill. Every participant except one. Hospital corpsman First Class Sarah "Doc" McKenna, 28, blonde hair in a tight ponytail under her helmet, was the only Navy SEAL combat medic attached to Delta Force for the exercise. She had deployed 5 times, pulled 14 brothers off the X under fire, and carried the Navy Cross she never talked about. Sarah had been told the general was part of the script. She had not been told that General Harlan, a man with a legendary temper and a history of bending rules, had secretly loaded his prop Glock with a single live round, to make it feel real. Inside the canvas triage tent, the air reeked of fake blood and diesel. 6 wounded soldiers lay on litters moaning. Sarah knelt over a role-player whose makeup simulated a sucking chest wound, her hands moving with the calm of someone who had done this in places without names. That was when the tent flap ripped open and General Harlan stormed in, eyes wild, camouflage sleeves rolled high, veins bulging. He kicked over an 4-stand and leveled the Glock at the nearest patient. "This exercise is over," he roared. "I'm done playing games with you remps." The safety officers outside froze. This wasn't in the script. Sarah rose slowly, hands visible. "General, sir, stand down. This is an exercise." Harlan swung the pistol toward her face. The muzzle kissed her forehead just above her left eyebrow. "I said shut it down or people start dying for real." The role-players went dead silent. One of them, a young Army private playing a gut-shot soldier, wet himself when he realized the general's hand was shaking with rage, not acting. Sarah's voice stayed ice-calm. "Sir, you're having a medical episode. Let me help you." "Help me?" Harlan screamed, pressing harder. "Die now." Time fractured. Sarah's right hand snapped up like a cobra, 2 fingers stabbing into the general's wrist pressure point while her left hand rotated the pistol outward. The Glock discharged with a deafening crack, the live round punching through the tent roof inches from her ear. In the same motion she stripped the weapon, ejected the magazine, and racked the slide so fast the ejected round was still spinning in the air when the pistol clattered empty to the ground. Before Harlan could blink, Sarah had pivoted behind him, her arm snaking under his chin into a blood choke while her knee drove into the back of his leg, dropping the 2-star general face first into the dirt. 10 seconds later he was flex-cuffed with his own boot laces, unconscious, drooling on the canvas floor. The safety officers finally rushed in, shouting, "Cease fire! Cease fire!" But the damage was done. A live round had been fired by a general officer inside a training area. The entire exercise shut down within minutes. Black Hawks thundered overhead, real ones this time. By nightfall the story exploded across every secure channel from Bragg to the Pentagon. General Harlan was sedated in the psych ward claiming he'd only wanted realism. The single live round was confirmed. And Sarah McKenna, the medic who had disarmed a 2-star in front of 60 witnesses, was suddenly the most famous and most endangered sailor in the fleet. The first twist came 48 hours later. Instead of a commendation, Sarah received orders to report to temporary detention barracks. The charge, assault on a superior commissioned officer, Article 90, UCMJ. Maximum penalty, 10 years in Leavenworth. The Army was claiming she used excessive force. Video from 4 different body cams showed the general with a loaded weapon to her head, but the Secretary of the Army's office was already drafting a statement calling the incident regrettable overreaction by enlisted personnel. Sarah's chain of command went ballistic. Her SEAL commander, Captain Jake "Reaper" Morrison, stormed into the JAG office with a stack of deployment records thicker than a phone book. She saved lives, and you're charging her. The JAG colonel, a pale man with 0 combat patches, shrugged. General Harlan outranks everyone in this room. That's how it works. That was when the second twist detonated. An anonymous video leaked to every major network, crystal clear GoPro footage from inside the tent, shot by one of the role players. It showed everything: the live round, the general's scream of, "Die now," Sarah's textbook disarm, and most damning, General Harlan being carried out afterward laughing with a colonel, saying, "Did you see her face? Oscar-worthy." The country lost its mind. Within 24 hours #FreeDoc McKenna trended above everything except Taylor Swift. Vets flooded the Pentagon switchboard. A viral clip of Sarah dragging a bleeding Marine through Taliban fire in Helmand 5 years earlier racked up 40 million views. Congressmen who'd never deployed started wearing Navy corpsman insignia on their lapels. But the third and darkest twist was still coming. While Sarah sat in pre-trial confinement, classified documents surfaced showing General Harlan had been flagged for psychiatric evaluation twice in the past 18 months, once after punching a British liaison officer, once after threatening to shoot a reporter. Both incidents had been buried by friends in high places. Worse, the live round wasn't random. Harlan had bragged in text messages to a mistress that he was going to teach that SEAL bitch a lesson about who runs the Army. The Secretary of Defense, a former Marine 3-star, flew to Bragg personally. He walked into the detention center, dismissed the guards, and sat across from Sarah with a cup of coffee like they were old friends. "Petty Officer McKenna," he said, "the President wants this to disappear. Option 1, you accept a quiet discharge, full benefits, and we call it even. Option 2, we go to court-martial and the entire chain of command above General Harlan gets dragged through the mud for covering up his instability. A lot of careers end. Yours included." Sarah didn't even blink. "Sir, with respect, my oath wasn't to careers. It was to the Constitution and the kids bleeding out in that tent. Do what you have to do." The SEC-DEF smiled for the first time. "That's what I thought you'd say." 3 weeks later the court-martial convened in a packed Fort Bragg courtroom. The prosecution's case collapsed on day 1 when the GoPro footage was ruled admissible. On day 2, Harlan took the stand and promptly had a meltdown, screaming that Sarah was part of a deep state conspiracy to neuter real warriors. The judge ordered him removed in restraints. The final twist came on the last day of testimony. Sarah's defense team called a surprise witness, Master Chief Edward Callahan, the most decorated living SEAL, a man who hadn't spoken publicly in 20 years. He rolled in wearing a simple khaki uniform, his chest a constellation of medals. He looked at the panel and said 4 sentences. "I was on the ground in Fallujah when Doc McKenna ran through hellfire to get to my team. She saved 9 of us that day. If any general ever points a loaded weapon at her again, he'll have to go through every SEAL still breathing. That's not a threat. That's a promise." The panel deliberated for 19 minutes. Verdict: not guilty on all charges. But the story didn't end there. 6 months later, Congress passed the McKenna Amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, the first major update to Article 90 in 70 years. It explicitly authorizes any service member, regardless of rank, to use necessary force, including deadly force, to prevent the unlawful killing of another American by a superior officer acting outside the bounds of lawful orders. It is now taught in every boot camp, every officer candidate school, every war college in the country. General Harlan was involuntarily retired with a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder and intermittent explosive disorder. He lives quietly in South Carolina and has never spoken publicly again. Sarah McKenna turned down a direct commission, turned down the Medal of Honor, quietly recommended but blocked for political reasons, and went back to the teams. Last anyone heard, she was somewhere in the Pacific, teaching a new generation of corpsmen how to keep their brothers alive. And every year on the anniversary of that day in the tent, thousands of troops post the same 3 words on whatever platform hasn't banned them yet. Die now. Never. Hey patriots, drop your state in the comments right now. Where are you watching from the video from? Let me know which part of this great country you call home.